The company Christmas party was exactly what you'd expect from a mid-tier consulting firm trying to punch above its weight class. Free wine that tasted like it came from a gas station, rubber chicken that could double as a hockey puck, and a parade of spouses pretending not to judge each other's shoes while making small talk about property taxes and their kids' soccer leagues. I'm Keaton Merren, and I've been watching this corporate theater for 12 years now. Senior analyst, decent salary, solid reputation for getting things done without making waves. The kind of guy who fixes problems quietly while other people take credit. Tonight, though, I was watching my wife, Ayla, work the room like she was running for mayor. "Keaton, honey, come meet the regional director," Ayla called out, her voice carrying that particular pitch she used when she wanted something. She was standing next to Jace Arnell, her direct supervisor, and the golden boy of our downtown office. Jace had the kind of smile that made you want to check your wallet afterward. "Already met him," I said, raising my beer. "3 times, actually, at the last 3 company parties." Jace laughed like I'd said something clever instead of mildly sarcastic. "Your wife's been telling me about your renovation project. Sounds like quite the undertaking." "Just a bathroom remodel," I said. "Nothing that requires a degree in rocket science." Ayla's laugh was a little too bright, a little too forced. She'd been like this for weeks now, animated, energetic, but in a way that felt performative, like she was auditioning for a role I didn't know she wanted. "Jace was saying there might be some opportunities opening up in the strategic planning division," she said, her hand finding my arm. "Isn't that exciting?" I looked between them. Jace was nodding enthusiastically, and Ayla was practically glowing. The strategic planning division was 2 floors up and came with a 20% salary bump. It was also Jace's domain. "Opportunities," I repeated. "That's corporate speak for, we haven't decided anything yet, but we want you to think we have." Jace's smile flickered for just a second. "Well, we like to keep our options open, see who shows the right kind of initiative." There it was. The corporate equivalent of dangling a carrot. I'd seen this dance before, middle management making promises they couldn't keep to people who wanted to believe them. What surprised me was seeing Ayla fall for it. "I should probably mingle," I said. "Let you 2 discuss strategy." I walked away before either of them could respond, heading toward the bar where my friend Ray was holding court with some of the IT guys. Ray worked in facilities management and had the kind of blue-collar wisdom that cut through corporate nonsense like a chainsaw through tissue paper. "How's married life treating you, Keaton?" Ray asked, handing me a fresh beer. "Like a subscription service I forgot to cancel," I said. Ray laughed. "That good, huh?" I was about to respond when I noticed something. Ayla and Jace were still talking, but their body language had shifted. She was leaning in closer, laughing at something he'd said. His hand was resting on the small of her back. Nothing overtly inappropriate, but intimate enough to make me take notice. "Your wife's really working that promotion angle," said Danny from IT, following my gaze. "Heard she's been staying late a lot lately." "Strategic planning requires strategic hours," I said, but something cold was settling in my stomach. The party continued around us, forced laughter, clinking glasses, the usual office politics disguised as holiday cheer. I kept one eye on Ayla and Jace, watching their dance of professional flirtation. Every shared joke, every casual touch, every moment of eye contact that lasted a beat too long. Around 9:30, I went looking for Ayla to see if she was ready to leave. I'd lost track of her about 20 minutes earlier, right around the time Jace had disappeared from the main party area. "Have you seen my wife?" I asked Carter, one of Jace's buddies from the executive floor. Carter grinned like he knew something I didn't. "She's probably powdering her nose, or someone else's." The comment hit wrong. Too knowing, too amused, like he was enjoying a joke at my expense. I checked the restroom area, the coat check, even the smoking section outside. No sign of either Ayla or Jace. When I asked Matt, another one of Jace's crew, he just shrugged. "Maybe they're having a strategy session," he said, and there was definitely amusement in his voice. A strategy session. At a Christmas party. For nearly an hour. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I found Ayla back in the main room around 10:15, looking slightly flustered and checking her reflection in her phone camera. Her lipstick was gone, and there was a small wrinkle in her dress that hadn't been there before. "There you are," she said, her voice a little too bright. "I was looking for you." "Funny, I was looking for you too. Where'd you disappear to?" "Oh, just networking. You know how it is." She was already gathering her purse, avoiding eye contact. "Ready to go home?" The drive home was quiet. Ayla stared out the window, occasionally checking her phone. When it buzzed with a text message, she was quick to flip it face down. "Good party," she said as we pulled into our driveway. "Yeah," I said. "Really strategic." She shot me a look, but didn't ask what I meant. That night, lying in bed, I replayed the evening in my head. The disappearance, the flustered return, Carter's knowing grin, the way Jace had looked at my wife like she was dessert and he'd been on a diet. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe there was an innocent explanation. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Check your email. You need to see this. N." I slipped out of bed and went to my home office, heart pounding for reasons I couldn't quite name yet. The email was from the same unknown sender with a video file attached. The timestamp showed it was from tonight, about an hour into the party. Security camera footage from the executive floor, showing the hallway outside Jace's office. I watched Ayla and Jace walking down the corridor together, her hand on his arm, both of them laughing. They stopped outside his office door. Jace pulled out a key, looked around to make sure they were alone, then unlocked the door. Ayla followed him inside, and the door closed behind them. The timestamp showed they were in there for 43 minutes. When they emerged, Ayla was fixing her dress. Jace's tie was loose and his hair was messed up. He said something that made her laugh, then pulled her close for what looked like a very non-professional goodbye. I watched the video 3 times, each viewing making the reality more concrete, more undeniable. My wife was having an affair with her boss. I forwarded the video to 2 people, Beck Darren, my attorney, and the company's HR department. Then I sat back and waited for the fireworks to begin. The next morning, Ayla's phone started buzzing at 6:30 a.m. She was in the shower, so I glanced at the screen. 3 missed calls from Jace, 2 text messages, and an email marked urgent. I didn't answer when she called out asking who was trying to reach her. By the time she got out of the shower, her phone had buzzed 6 more times. I was in the kitchen making coffee, watching her face as she scrolled through her messages. The color drained from her cheeks, like someone had pulled a plug. "Everything okay?" I asked, stirring my coffee with deliberate casualness. "Fine," she said, but her voice cracked on the word. "Just some work stuff." Her phone rang again. This time it was HR. "Ayla Merren speaking," she answered, trying to sound professional while standing in our kitchen in a bathrobe. I couldn't hear the other side of the conversation, but I watched Ayla's face cycle through confusion, denial, and growing panic. "I don't understand," she said. "What video? Who sent you a video?" There was a long pause while she listened. "No, I can explain. It's not what it looks like. We were just discussing the Morrison project and—" Another pause. Longer this time. "Yes, I understand. I'll be in as soon as possible." She hung up and stared at her phone like it had personally betrayed her. "Work emergency?" I asked. "Someone sent HR a video from last night, security footage. They want to see me immediately." "That's weird. What kind of video?" She looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw the moment she realized I already knew. Her eyes widened and her mouth opened slightly. Keaton, I can explain. I'm sure you can, I said. You've always been creative with explanations. My phone rang. Beck Darren, my attorney. Morning, Beck. Got your email? Interesting footage. How do you want to handle this? By the book. Divorce papers, asset protection, the works. Ayla was staring at me now, her phone forgotten in her hand. I'll have everything ready by noon, Beck said. And Keaton? I'm sorry, man. Thanks, Beck. I hung up and looked at my wife. She was crying now, but they were angry tears, not sad ones. You sent that video to HR, she said. You're trying to destroy my career. I sent evidence of workplace misconduct to the appropriate department. What they do with it is their business. This is insane. You're ruining everything over a misunderstanding. 43 minutes is a long misunderstanding. Her phone buzzed with another text, then another. Word was getting out, and the corporate gossip machine was firing up. In a company our size, news traveled faster than a virus in a daycare center. Keaton, please, we can work this out. It was a mistake. A stupid, meaningless mistake. Which part was the mistake? Having the affair or getting caught? She flinched like I'd slapped her. I need to get to work, she said. We'll talk about this tonight. Actually, we won't. I'm staying at Ray's for a few days. My lawyer will be in touch. I grabbed my keys and headed for the door. Keaton, wait! I stopped, but didn't turn around. This isn't over, she said. You're right, I said. It's just getting started. I spent the morning at Ray's garage, helping him work on a transmission while I filled him in on the situation. Ray was the kind of friend who listened without judgment and offered practical advice. So what's your play here? He asked, wiping grease off his hands. Divorce, obviously. But first, I want them to feel some consequences. Them? Jace thinks he can mess around with married women without any fallout. Time to adjust his perspective. Ray grinned. You've got that look. What look? The same look you had when Tommy Richardson kept stealing your lunch money in 7th grade, right before you put superglue in his locker. I was 12. You were methodical, still are. Around noon, Beck called with an update. HR moved fast, he said. Jace has been suspended pending investigation. Your wife's been called in for questioning this afternoon. What about Jace's wife? What about her? Someone should probably let her know what her husband's been up to. Keaton, be careful. Don't do anything that could hurt your position in the divorce. I'm not going to do anything illegal, Beck, but I'm also not going to pretend this didn't happen. That afternoon, I drove to Jace's office building and waited in the parking garage. Around 3:30, he came down the elevator looking like someone had run over his dog. His usual swagger was gone, replaced by the hunched shoulders of a man whose world was collapsing. I followed him to his car, staying far enough back to avoid being noticed. When he stopped at a red light, I pulled up next to him and rolled down my window. Hey, Jace! He looked over, and his face went pale when he recognized me. How's your day going? I asked cheerfully. The light turned green, and he sped off like he was fleeing a crime scene. I drove to the office supply store and bought a few items, heavy-duty adhesive letters, a package of frozen shrimp, and a small funnel. Then I went back to Ray's garage to wait for nightfall. You sure about this? Ray asked as we drove back to Jace's building around midnight. He wants to play games with other people's marriages, I said. Time to show him what games look like. The parking garage was nearly empty. Jace's BMW was parked in his reserved spot on the 3rd level, gleaming under the fluorescent lights like a trophy. I applied the adhesive letters to his windshield, spelling out Workplace Predator in large block letters. Then I used the funnel to deposit the thawed shrimp into his air conditioning vents. Ray kept watch while I worked, occasionally chuckling at my handiwork. Think he'll get the message? Ray asked as we headed back to his truck. If not, I've got more messages to send. The next morning, I drove by the office building just as Jace was discovering my artwork. Even from across the street, I could see him frantically trying to peel the letters off his windshield while other employees gathered to watch. When he finally got his car started, the smell of rotting seafood filled the garage. I watched him roll down all his windows and drive away with his head hanging out the driver's side window like a dog. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Nicely done. He deserved that and more. We should talk. Nira Arnell, Jace's wife. This was getting interesting. I met Nira Arnell at a coffee shop downtown, far enough from our neighborhood to avoid being seen by mutual acquaintances. She was already there when I arrived, sitting in a corner booth with her back to the wall like someone expecting trouble. Nira was the kind of woman who commanded attention without trying, elegant, composed, with the sort of quiet intelligence that made you choose your words carefully. I'd met her a few times at company events, but we'd never had a real conversation. "Thank you for coming," she said as I sat down. "I wasn't sure you would. Your husband's having an affair with my wife. Seems like we have some common ground." She smiled, but there wasn't any warmth in it. Common ground, that's one way to put it. "How long have you known?" "About Ayla specifically? Since the Morrison project started 3 months ago. About Jace's wandering eye in general? Years." "And you never said anything? To whom? HR? They'd have buried it to protect their golden boy. To you? We barely know each other. To Jace?" She laughed bitterly. "I tried that route after the last one. He promised to change." "The last one?" "Jennifer from accounting. Before that, it was Lisa from marketing. Jace has a pattern." I felt something cold settle in my chest. "How many others?" "That I know of? 4, including your wife. That I suspect? Probably twice that." We sat in silence for a moment while I processed this information. My wife wasn't just having an affair. She was the latest in a series of conquests. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Because I'm tired of being the understanding wife, and because you're the first husband who's actually fought back." The shrimp was just the beginning. "Good." She reached into her purse and pulled out a flash drive. Security footage from the hotel where Jace takes his girlfriends. Photos from the company retreat last month. Text messages I retrieved from his laptop. I stared at the flash drive. "Why are you giving me this?" "Because I want to watch him burn, and I want your wife to burn with him." "What's in it for you?" Jace has been positioning himself for a promotion to regional director. If his reputation gets destroyed, that promotion goes to someone else, someone who might appreciate having an ally in the executive suite. I was beginning to understand. Nira wasn't just seeking revenge, she was playing chess while the rest of us were playing checkers. "What do you want me to do with this?" "Whatever you think will hurt them the most. Just make sure it's public." That afternoon, I went through the contents of the flash drive. The evidence was damning. Hotel receipts, restaurant bills, photos of Jace and various women including Ayla, and a series of text messages that would make a sailor blush. One photo in particular caught my attention. Ayla and Jace at the company retreat, sitting by the pool. She was wearing his jacket, and they were sharing what was obviously an intimate moment. The timestamp showed it was taken 6 weeks ago, right around the time Ayla had started talking about new opportunities at work. I forwarded selected items to 3 people: the company's ethics hotline, the local business journal's gossip columnist, and Carter, Jace's buddy, who'd made the crack about powdering noses. Carter called me within an hour. "What the hell is this?" he demanded. "Evidence," I said. "Thought you might want to see what your friend's been up to. You can't send this stuff around. It's private." "Nothing's private when it happens on company time and company facilities." "Jace is going to be furious." "Good. Tell him if he wants to discuss it, he knows where to find me." The next day, the Business Journal ran a blind item about executive misconduct at a local consulting firm. They didn't name names, but anyone who worked in our industry would be able to connect the dots. Ayla called me that afternoon, crying. "They're destroying me at work. she sobbed. Everyone's staring, whispering. Someone put a printout of that hotel photo on the break room bulletin board. That's terrible, I said, not meaning it. You have to make this stop, Keaton. This isn't just hurting me. It's hurting you too. People know we're married. We're married, past tense. The divorce isn't final. We can still work this out. No, we can't. I'll quit. I'll find another job. We can move somewhere else and start over. You don't get it, do you? This isn't about your job or where we live. This is about trust, and you broke it. It was just a fling. It didn't mean anything. Then why did you do it? She was quiet for a long moment. When she finally spoke, her voice was small and defeated. Because he made me feel important, like I mattered. And I didn't? You took me for granted, Keaton. We both know it. Maybe she was right. Maybe I had gotten comfortable, complacent. But that didn't justify what she'd done. I'm sorry you felt that way, I said, but cheating wasn't the answer. So what now? You just destroy my life and walk away? I didn't destroy your life, Ayla. You did. I'm just making sure everyone knows about it. That evening, I was having dinner with Ray when my phone rang. Jace. We need to talk, he said without preamble. I'm listening. Not over the phone. Meet me at Murphy's bar in 20 minutes. Why would I do that? Because if you don't, I'm going to make your life very difficult. I almost laughed. More difficult than having my wife cheat on me with her boss? 20 minutes, Keaton. Don't make me come looking for you. He hung up before I could respond. Ray looked at me across the table. That didn't sound friendly. Jace wants to meet. Sounds like he's trying to threaten me. You going? Absolutely. Want to come along? Wouldn't miss it. Murphy's bar was a dive on the wrong side of downtown, the kind of place where people went to have conversations they didn't want overheard. Jace was already there when we arrived, sitting alone in a back booth with a whiskey in front of him. He looked terrible. His usual polished appearance was gone, replaced by wrinkled clothes and red eyes. The suspension was taking its toll. Thanks for coming, he said, as I slid into the booth across from him. Ray took a seat at the bar where he could keep an eye on things. What do you want, Jace? I want you to call off your dogs. Stop sending those photos around. Stop talking to reporters. Stop trying to destroy my career. Or what? Or I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of husband you really were. How you neglected your wife, ignored her needs, drove her into the arms of another man. I stared at him for a moment, then started laughing. That's your threat? You're going to tell people I was a bad husband? I'm going to tell them you were an absent, selfish partner who cared more about his hobbies than his marriage. And you were just helping her through a difficult time? Something like that. I leaned forward. Here's the thing, Jace. I don't care what people think about my marriage. It's over. But you've got a wife, a career, a reputation to protect, and I've got enough evidence to destroy all three. His face flushed red. You're making a mistake. The only mistake I made was trusting my wife. Everything since then has been very deliberate. He stood up abruptly, knocking over his drink. This isn't over. You're right, it's not. As he walked away, I called out loud enough for the other patrons to hear, "Say hi to Ayla for me." The entire bar turned to look at him. Jace's face went crimson as he hurried toward the exit. Ray came over and sat down. Think he got the message? If not, I'll send it again, louder this time. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls from Ayla. When I finally called her back, she was hysterical. He's at the house, she screamed into the phone. Jace is here, and he's completely lost his mind. What do you mean he's there? He showed up at 6 a.m., pounding on the door, demanding to know what I told you. He's saying you're going to destroy both of us, that we need to stick together. I could hear shouting in the background, and what sounded like something breaking. Where are you now? Locked in the bedroom. Keaton, I'm scared. He's not acting rational. Call the police. I can't. If they arrest him, it'll be in the papers. My career will be completely over. Your career is already over, Ayla. Call the police. Please, just come over and talk to him. He'll listen to you. I hung up and called the police myself, then drove to the house. 2 patrol cars were already there when I arrived, and I could see neighbors gathering on their porches to watch the show. Jace was sitting in the back of one patrol car, his hands cuffed behind his back. He was shouting something about harassment and false accusations, but the officers weren't buying it. Officer Martinez, who I recognized from the neighborhood community meetings, came over to talk to me. Your wife says this man was making threats and refused to leave when asked, he said. You want to press charges for trespassing? Absolutely. He claims you've been stalking him, vandalizing his property. He's welcome to prove that, I said. I'm sure the security cameras at his building will show exactly who's been where. Martinez nodded. We'll need a statement from you and your wife. Ayla emerged from the house looking shaken. Her hair was disheveled, and she was clutching her bathrobe closed like armor. When she saw me, her expression shifted from relief to anger. This is your fault, she hissed. If you hadn't started this war, none of this would have happened. If you hadn't started an affair, none of this would have happened. I made one mistake. You made a series of choices. Every late night, every lie, every time you came home and pretended everything was normal, those were all choices. Officer Martinez cleared his throat. Ma'am, we need to get your statement about this morning's incident. While Ayla talked to the police, I noticed our neighbor Mrs. Chen watching from her front yard with obvious fascination. By tomorrow, the entire neighborhood would know that Ayla's boss had been arrested at our house. The gossip network in our subdivision was more efficient than the internet. After the police left, Ayla and I stood in our driveway facing each other like gunfighters at high noon. I'm moving out, she said. I can't stay here with everyone staring and whispering. Probably for the best. I found a furnished apartment downtown. I'll come back for my things when you're not here. Take what you want. I'm having the locks changed anyway. She flinched. You really hate me, don't you? I thought about that for a moment. No, I don't hate you. I just don't know you anymore. The woman who cheated on you, that's not who I really am. Maybe not, but it's who you chose to be. That afternoon, I met with Beck to review the divorce papers. The evidence was so overwhelming that Ayla's attorney was advising her to settle quickly and quietly. She's agreed to a 50-50 split of assets, Beck said. No alimony? Clean break? What about the house? You keep it. She gets her car and half the savings. Seems fair. There's one more thing. Jace's wife wants to meet with you again. Nira? What about? She didn't say, but she seemed excited about something. I met Nira at the same coffee shop as before. This time, she was practically glowing with satisfaction. The board met yesterday, she said without preamble. Jace has been terminated for cause. No severance, no references, no golden parachute. How do you know? Because I've been feeding information to board members for weeks. Your little publicity campaign was just the final nail in the coffin. And the promotion he was up for? Goes to someone else, someone who appreciates loyalty and discretion. She smiled. Someone like me. I stared at her. You're getting his job? Regional director, starting next month. Funny how these things work out. You played this perfectly. I had good help. Your ex-wife made it easy by being so obvious about everything. She's not my ex-wife yet. Give it time. Speaking of which, there's something else you should know. Jace isn't taking his termination well. He's been drinking heavily, making threats. My lawyer thinks he might try something stupid. Like what? Like blaming you for everything and trying to get revenge. That evening, I was in my garage working on a woodworking project when I heard a car pull into the driveway. Through the window, I saw Jace's BMW, the one I'd decorated with shrimp and adhesive letters. He got out of the car unsteadily, clearly intoxicated. In his right hand, he was carrying what looked like a crowbar. I grabbed my phone and speed-dialed 911, then picked up a hammer from my workbench. Keaton! Jace shouted, banging on the garage door. "Open up! We need to settle this!" "Go home, Jace. You're drunk. You destroyed my life, my career, my marriage, everything. You did that yourself." The banging got louder, more violent. I could hear him cursing, threatening to break down the door. "I'm calling the police," I shouted. "Call whoever you want. I'm not leaving until we finish this." I heard the sound of breaking glass. He'd smashed one of the garage windows with the crowbar. A few seconds later, his arm came through the opening, trying to reach the door handle. That's when I opened the main garage door. Jace stumbled backward, surprised by the sudden movement. He was even more disheveled than he'd been at the bar, with several days' worth of stubble and clothes that looked like he'd slept in them. "There you are," he slurred, raising the crowbar. "Ready to face me like a man? I'm ready to watch you get arrested for the second time this week." In the distance, I could hear sirens approaching. "You think you're so smart," he said, swaying on his feet. "But you don't know everything. You don't know about the others." "What others?" "The other wives, the other husbands who never figured it out." He laughed bitterly. "Your precious Ayla wasn't even the best of them." The police cars turned into my driveway, their red and blue lights painting the garage in alternating colors. "Drop the weapon!" Officer Martinez shouted, drawing his gun. Jace looked around in confusion, as if he'd forgotten where he was. The crowbar slipped from his fingers and clattered to the concrete floor. "She was just another conquest," he said, as the officers moved in to arrest him. "Just another bored housewife, looking for excitement." As they led him away, I realized that his words should have hurt more than they did. Instead, I felt nothing but relief that this chapter was finally closing. My phone buzzed with a text from Nira. "Heard the sirens from my house. Everything okay?" "Better than okay," I texted back. "It's over." But I was wrong. It wasn't over yet. Jace made bail the next morning, which surprised exactly no one who understood how the justice system worked for people with money and connections. What did surprise me was the call I received from Nira around noon. "He's planning something," she said without preamble. "Jace called me this morning, ranting about how he's going to expose the truth about everything. He says he has evidence that will destroy both you and Ayla." "What kind of evidence?" "I don't know, but he sounded different. Not drunk angry like last night. Cold angry. Calculating." "Any idea what he's planning?" "The company's annual shareholders meeting is tomorrow night. Big event, lots of important people, media coverage. If he wanted to make a public statement, that would be the place to do it." I thought about this. Jace had lost his job, his reputation, and probably his marriage. A man with nothing left to lose could be dangerous in unpredictable ways. "Are you going to the meeting?" I asked. "I have to. It's my first official appearance as regional director." "Why?" "Because I think we should be prepared for whatever he's planning." That afternoon, I drove to Ray's garage to think through my options. Ray was working on an engine rebuild, his hands covered in grease, completely focused on the mechanical puzzle in front of him. "So what's the play?" he asked without looking up from the engine block. "I'm not sure yet, but Jace isn't the type to go quietly. He's going to try to take everyone down with him." "Maybe that's not such a bad thing. Let him make a scene, look like a lunatic, prove he's unstable. Or maybe he actually has something that could hurt me." Ray straightened up and looked at me. "Like what?" "I don't know. But I've been assuming I had all the cards. What if I don't?" That evening, I called Ayla. She was staying at her downtown apartment, trying to rebuild her life after the spectacular collapse of her career and marriage. "Jace called me today," she said. "He wants to meet tomorrow before the shareholders meeting." "What did you tell him?" "That I never wanted to see him again. But Keaton, he sounded strange, like he was planning something." "Did he say what?" "He kept talking about setting the record straight and making sure everyone knows the truth." "What truth? Everyone already knows we had an affair." Maybe there's more to it than that. What do you mean? I mean, maybe you weren't his only target. Maybe this whole thing was bigger than just an affair. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Keaton, there's something I never told you, about how it started. I'm listening. Jace didn't just seduce me. He researched me first, knew things about my background, my ambitions, my insecurities. It was like he'd studied me. What kind of things? Personal stuff. Things I'd never told anyone at work. About my father leaving when I was 12, about feeling like I was never good enough, about wanting to prove myself professionally. A cold feeling was spreading through my chest. How could he have known that? I don't know, but looking back it felt orchestrated, like he was pushing specific buttons to get a specific response. You think he targeted you deliberately? I think he targets all of them deliberately. The question is why. The next evening, the Riverside Convention Center was buzzing with activity. The annual shareholders meeting was part corporate theater, part social event, with local business leaders, media representatives, and company employees all gathered to hear about profits and projections. I wasn't supposed to be there. I'd been placed on administrative leave pending the resolution of the workplace incident. But Ray knew someone in catering, and it wasn't hard to get inside with a borrowed uniform and a tray of appetizers. Nira was working the room in a sharp business suit, clearly in her element as the new regional director. She caught my eye across the crowded ballroom and nodded slightly. Ayla was there too, despite no longer working for the company. She was standing near the back of the room, looking uncomfortable and out of place. At exactly 7:30, the lights dimmed and the company president took the stage to begin his presentation. Standard corporate stuff, revenue growth, market expansion, strategic initiatives. That's when Jace made his entrance. He walked into the ballroom like he owned it, wearing an expensive suit and carrying a laptop bag. His hair was perfectly styled, his face clean-shaven. He looked like the successful executive he'd been just a week ago. Several people turned to stare as he made his way toward the front of the room. Security guards started moving in his direction, but he reached the stage before they could intercept him. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, taking the microphone from the startled company president, "I have something important to share with you tonight." The room went silent. I could see Nira moving closer to the stage, her face tense with anticipation. "My name is Jace Arnell, and until recently I was your regional director. I was terminated last week for alleged misconduct, but the real reason was much more interesting." He opened his laptop and connected it to the presentation screen. A spreadsheet appeared, filled with names, dates, and dollar amounts. "For the past 3 years, I've been conducting an unofficial audit of this company's hiring and promotion practices. What I found was systematic discrimination, harassment by senior management, and financial irregularities that would make your accountants very nervous." The crowd was murmuring now, a low buzz of confusion and concern. "The affair with Keaton Merren was part of my investigation. I was gathering evidence of how this company rewards employees who are willing to compromise their ethics for advancement. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. He was spinning the entire affair as some kind of undercover investigation. Mrs. Merren was told that favors would lead to promotion opportunities. When she complied, those promises were kept. When her husband discovered the arrangement and threatened to expose it, the company chose to destroy both of us rather than address the underlying corruption. The screen changed to show photos of Ayla and Jace together, but now they were presented as evidence of corporate malfeasance rather than personal betrayal. I have documentation of similar arrangements involving at least 6 other female employees over the past 5 years. Women who were told that their career advancement depended on their willingness to provide services to their supervisors. Nira was pushing through the crowd now, trying to reach the stage. Security guards were closing in from both sides. "The evidence is all here," Jace continued, holding up a flash drive. "Names, dates, financial records, recorded conversations, everything you need to understand how this company really operates." That's when I realized what he was doing. He wasn't just trying to destroy me and Ayla, he was trying to bring down the entire company leadership, and he was positioning himself as a whistleblower rather than a predator. The security guards reached the stage and started moving toward him. Jace smiled and tossed the flash drive into the crowd. "The truth will come out," he said as they grabbed his arms. "All of it." As they dragged him away, the ballroom erupted in chaos. Reporters were shouting questions, shareholders were demanding answers, and company executives were huddled in panicked conversations. I found Ayla near the exit, her face pale with shock. "Did you know?" I asked. "About any of that?" "No," she whispered. "I thought it was real. The attraction, the relationship, all of it. I thought he actually cared about me. He used you. He used all of us." Nira appeared beside us, her professional composure cracked for the first time since I'd known her. "We need to talk," she said. "All of us. Right now." We found a quiet conference room away from the chaos of the main ballroom. Nira closed the door and turned to face us. "How much of that was true?" I asked. "Probably most of it," she said. "Jace has been building a case against the company for years. I think he was planning to use it for leverage, but when everything fell apart, he decided to go nuclear instead." "So the affairs were all fake?" "No, they were real. But they were also strategic. He was documenting everything, building evidence of a pattern." Ayla was staring at the floor. "I was just evidence." "We all were," Nira said, "including me. My marriage to him, my career advancement, it was all part of his long-term plan." "What happens now?" I asked. "Now the company faces a massive scandal, multiple investigations, and probably criminal charges. Jace gets to play the hero who exposed corruption, and we get to figure out how to rebuild our lives." Through the conference room window, I could see police cars arriving in the parking lot. The media vans wouldn't be far behind. "There's one more thing," Nira said quietly. "The flash drive he threw into the crowd? It was empty. All the real evidence is probably hidden somewhere safe, waiting for the right moment to surface." "So this was all theater?" "This was the opening act. The real show starts tomorrow when the FBI gets involved." As if on cue, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "This is just the beginning. Jay." I showed the message to Nira and Ayla. We all stared at it in silence, realizing that despite everything that had happened, Jace still had cards left to play. "What do we do?" Ayla asked. I looked at my wife, my soon-to-be ex-wife, and felt something shift inside me. For weeks, I'd been focused on revenge, on making them pay for what they'd done to me. But now I understood that we'd all been victims of something much larger and more calculating. "We survive," I said, "and we make sure the truth actually comes out. All of it." The ballroom doors opened behind us, and I could hear reporters shouting questions about corporate corruption and harassment. Our private drama had become a public scandal, and there was no going back. But for the first time in weeks, I felt like I was finally seeing the whole picture, and I was ready to fight back against the real enemy.